For weeks now, an unsettling sensation had nestled itself in the back of Harry's mind, refusing to be shaken off like a bad dream. It began with a subtle shift in the atmosphere of their home, the familiar warmth gradually replaced by a chilling uncertainty. An unfamiliar cologne wafted through the air, one he didn't recognize. At first, he brushed it aside as his imagination, a mere figment of a restless mind. But as days turned into weeks, the cologne morphed into an unwelcome reminder that something was amiss. One Thursday evening, after a long day at work, Harry returned home earlier than usual, hoping to surprise Lisa. He noticed the lingering scent as he stepped through the door, stronger than before, as if it were intentionally left behind. He glanced around the house, searching for any clues, but everything appeared normal. The kitchen was tidy, and the living room bore the usual traces of their life together. Books on the coffee table, a half-finished puzzle sprawled across the dining table, and the soft glow of their favorite lamp illuminating the room. He called out, "Lisa? You home? In the bedroom?" Her voice floated back, a hint of cheerfulness threading through it. But something about her tone sent an electric jolt of anxiety through him. He hesitated, standing in the entryway, debating whether to just drop it and let it go. But the unease settled heavier in his gut, compelling him to investigate. He made his way to the bedroom, heart pounding, feeling as if he were stepping into a storm. As he approached, he heard hushed laughter, an unmistakably intimate sound that turned his stomach. Without thinking, he pushed the door open, and the sight before him stopped him dead in his tracks. Lisa was in bed with a man he recognized from her office holiday party, her laughter ringing like broken glass in his ears. The man's arm was draped over her shoulders, and their faces were close, as if sharing a secret that cut Harry deep. Time seemed to freeze as Harry's world shattered into a million sharp fragments. "Harry!" Lisa exclaimed, scrambling to sit up, her face a mask of shock and guilt. "Harry?" the man echoed, confusion mingling with horror, as he quickly withdrew his arm, eyes darting between the two. For a moment, no one spoke. The silence hung heavy, a suffocating weight. "You said you were working late," Harry finally managed, his voice strained but controlled. "I didn't expect to find this. Lisa stammered, panic flashing in her eyes. "It's not what it looks like, really?" Harry scoffed, incredulity spilling into his tone. "Because it looks exactly like Betrayal. Harry, please," she pleaded, scrambling out of bed and reaching for her clothes. "Let me explain." He took a step back, feeling as though he were watching a play unfold rather than experiencing a nightmare. "Explain? What could you possibly say that would make this okay?" The man, still awkwardly sitting on the edge of the bed, murmured, "I think I should go." He shot Lisa an apologetic look and stood up, quickly dressing and grabbing his jacket. "Wait, Mark!" Lisa called after him, but he was already heading for the door, throwing a glance at Harry filled with uncertainty and guilt. Harry's mind was racing, filled with swirling emotions of betrayal and disbelief. He turned his gaze back to Lisa, who was now standing in a disheveled heap, tears brimming in her eyes. "How could you do this?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper, trembling with both anger and hurt. "I didn't want you to find out this way," she said, her voice breaking as she fought to maintain her composure. "It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything." "Then what were you doing? How long has this been going on?" His voice rose, echoing off the walls, turning his hurt into a firestorm of rage. "Harry, please," she begged, her hands outstretched as if trying to bridge an insurmountable chasm. "I can't. No, you don't get to plead with me," he snapped, the hurt transforming into a cold fury. "You broke my trust. You shattered everything we built together. I don't want to hear your excuses." With that, Harry turned and stormed out of the room, the echoes of their shattered life ringing in his ears. Each step felt like a stab in the heart, and the only thing he knew for certain was that his life would never be the same. As he reached the front door, he paused, glancing back toward the bedroom where Lisa stood, her face buried in her hands, crying softly. The familiarity of their life felt distant, replaced by a stark reality he never wanted to face. In that moment, he realized he would have to confront not just her betrayal, but the complete unraveling of everything he thought he knew about love and trust. The days following the revelation of Lisa's betrayal felt like a waking nightmare for Harry. Each moment was a relentless reminder of the trust he had placed in her, now scattered like glass shards on the floor. He moved through the motions of daily life, work, meals, and sleep, yet felt completely detached, as if he were merely a spectator in his own life. The once warm atmosphere of their home had transformed into a hollow shell, echoing with unspoken words and unresolved pain. The initial shock morphed into a simmering anger, and as the days passed, the rage coiled tighter in his chest, demanding release. Harry decided that if he were ever to confront Lisa again, it wouldn't be in the confines of their home. Too private, too easy for her to manipulate the narrative. He wanted an audience, a chance to expose her for who she truly was. The thought of her embarrassment ignited a twisted sense of satisfaction within him. On a sunny Saturday afternoon, he learned that Lisa was meeting some friends at a local cafe. After a moment's hesitation, he felt a surge of determination course through him. This was the opportunity he needed. He slipped into a casual shirt and jeans, mentally rehearsing the words he would say, each one laced with the bitterness of betrayal. When he arrived at the cafe, he spotted her immediately. Lisa sat at a table under a striped awning, laughing with a group of her friends, her demeanor radiant and carefree. The sight turned his stomach. How could she act so normal? Harry's heart raced as he approached their table, the tension palpable in the air around him. "Harry!" Lisa exclaimed, her eyes widening in surprise. "What are you doing here?" "Nice to see you're having a good time," he replied, his voice steely. "Mind if I join you?" Her friends exchanged uneasy glances, and Lisa opened her mouth to protest, but he plowed on, ignoring her attempt to maintain control. "I think it's time we had a little chat. Everyone here should hear what you've been up to." "Harry, not here!" Lisa hissed, her smile vanishing. "This isn't the place." "Why not? You've been living a double life for weeks. I think everyone deserves to know the truth." He gestured toward her friends, who were now staring wide-eyed at the unfolding drama. "Don't you think, Harry, please?" Lisa pleaded, her voice lowering to a whisper, desperation creeping in. "You don't want to do this." "Actually, I do," he shot back, refusing to back down. "You're going to sit here and listen. Everyone here should know exactly what kind of person you are." "Why are you doing this?" Lisa asked, her composure cracking. "You're better than this." "No," he said, leaning closer, his voice firm but steady. "You think I'm better than this? You're the one who thought you could play me for a fool." At this point, the eyes of her friends were fixated on them, whispers dancing like fireflies in the summer air. Harry felt a surge of adrenaline as he turned to the group. "Let me make this clear. Lisa has been cheating on me. With a coworker. And using company funds to hide her tracks. That's what she's been up to while pretending everything was fine at home." Gasps filled the air, and Lisa's friends exchanged incredulous looks, horror etching their faces. "You can't be serious," one of them said, disbelief evident in her voice. "Dead serious," Harry affirmed, the satisfaction of truth coursing through him. "It's time for her to face the consequences of her actions." Lisa's expression shifted from shock to anger, her voice rising above the murmurs. "You're ruining everything. I thought you were better than this, Harry." "No, you thought I would just sit back and take your lies. But I'm done being the victim here." His heart raced, feeling an unexpected mix of fear and empowerment. The catharsis of public exposure ignited something within him. With a furious glance around the table, Lisa stood up, her chair scraping against the ground. "I can't believe you would do this to me. You're making a scene." "I'm making a point," he shot back, his heart pounding. "You want to talk about scenes? How about the one you put on behind my back?" Lisa turned to her friends, desperation in her eyes. "Please, can you help me out here? This isn't what it looks like." Harry felt a wave of triumph wash over him. The truth was out, and he could see the realization dawning on her friends. They were starting to understand the extent of her deception. "Save it, Lisa," he said, feeling the weight lift off his shoulders. "You've already done enough damage." He turned on his heel, leaving her standing there, a mix of shame and fury etched on her face, the whispers of her friends swirling around her like a storm. As he walked away from the cafe, a sense of closure began to settle in his chest. He had faced his demons, called out the betrayal in front of those who had supported her. It wasn't the end of his pain, but it was a step toward reclaiming his life, a moment where he refused to be silent any longer. Later that evening, as he walked alone through the streets, Harry felt a strange lightness within him, as if shedding a layer of skin. Confrontation had brought him clarity. Lisa had turned his life upside down, but he had taken the first step toward turning it right again. The fight was far from over, but he was ready for whatever came next. The aftermath of the confrontation at the cafe unfolded like a grim spiral, each day further unraveling the life Harry had known. The following week felt like an endless cycle of torment and chaos. Lisa had initially tried to play the victim, reaching out to mutual friends and attempting to spin the narrative in her favor. But with her reputation hanging by a thread, the support she once had started to dwindle. Harry found himself bombarded with texts and calls from concerned friends and family, some expressing sympathy, others asking for details about the dramatic fallout. He felt their pity wash over him like a cold shower, chilling him to the bone, but he didn't mind. The more they knew, the less power Lisa had to rewrite their story. He began to dig deeper, trying to piece together what had happened behind the scenes. One evening, as he sat at his dining table surrounded by scattered papers and his laptop, a jarring realization struck him. His gaze drifted to the joint bank account statement he had retrieved that morning. Multiple transactions stood out like neon signs: extravagant dinners, hotel stays, and suspicious charges with descriptions he'd never seen before. He narrowed his eyes, tracing the patterns. Her spending habits had spiraled out of control, all tied to her affair. Harry felt his heart race. "What the hell have you been doing, Lisa?" he muttered to himself. He had to confront the truth. This wasn't just about infidelity. She had crossed a line that could have severe consequences. The following day, Harry resolved to take action. He gathered the evidence, printing out bank statements and piecing together the timeline of events. Then he made his way to Lisa's workplace, a sleek corporate building that had once been a symbol of their shared aspirations. His heart raced as he entered the lobby, a blend of anger and determination fueling him. "Can I help you?" the receptionist asked, eyeing him warily. "I need to speak to someone in HR." "It's urgent," Harry replied, forcing calm into his voice. Minutes later, he found himself in a sterile conference room, the air thick with tension. The HR manager, a middle-aged woman named Karen, listened attentively as he laid out his case. He presented the evidence with a steady hand, watching her expression shift from curiosity to concern. "Mr. Turner, this is quite serious," Karen said, glancing over the documents. "If what you're saying is true, this could involve misconduct on Lisa's part and misappropriation of company funds. I wouldn't be here if it weren't true," Harry insisted, his voice firm. "I need you to take this seriously. I can't let her get away with this." Karen nodded, her face serious. "We will initiate an internal investigation, but I must advise you that this process can be lengthy. We take these matters very seriously, and it's important to ensure all parties are heard." "Fine. I just want the truth out there. She has to face the consequences of her actions," Harry said, feeling a mix of satisfaction and anxiety. As he left the corporate building, a sense of purpose propelled him forward. The truth would come to light. He would ensure that Lisa's actions didn't go unpunished. Days turned into weeks, and the investigation began to unfold. Rumors of Lisa's misconduct spread through her office like wildfire, and Harry was privy to the discussions swirling around him, many of them coming from his own social circle. Friends told him how shocked everyone was, how they never thought Lisa would be capable of such betrayal. One evening, Harry received a call from Mark, the man he had caught Lisa with. "Hey, Harry. I wanted to reach out," Mark said, sounding nervous. "I didn't know things would blow up like this." "What do you want, Mark?" Harry replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "You've already done enough damage." "I know," Mark said, sounding defeated. "But I didn't know she was married when we started seeing each other. It was just supposed to be fun." "Fun? You think this is fun?" Harry snapped. "You ruined my life." "You both did. Just stay away from me." The call ended, leaving Harry even more unsettled. He had expected no sympathy, but the reality of Lisa's choices and the consequences for everyone involved weighed heavily on him. Finally, the day arrived when the results of the investigation were released. Harry sat in his living room, heart racing as he scrolled through his emails. An official notification from Lisa's company appeared in his inbox, and he opened it with bated breath. "Dear Mr. Turner," it began. "After a thorough investigation into the allegations concerning Lisa Martin, we regret to inform you that Ms. Martin has been terminated from her position effective immediately due to her misuse of company funds and breach of company policy." As he read through the details, a mixture of emotions flooded him: relief, anger, sadness, and a strange sense of justice. Lisa's professional life was now in ruins, and he couldn't help but feel a sense of finality wash over him. A few hours later, his phone buzzed with an incoming call. It was Lisa. "Harry, we need to talk," she said, her voice trembling. "I don't think there's anything left to say, Lisa," he replied, keeping his tone cold. "I know you're angry, but please, just let me explain. I lost everything, my job, my friends. Everything you lost is a direct result of your own actions. You thought you could have it all without any consequences," Harry said, his voice steady. "You brought this on yourself." "Please don't make this worse," Lisa pleaded. "I'm scared. I didn't think it would go this far." "You should have thought about that before you betrayed me," he said, the bitterness rising in his throat. "You destroyed our marriage, and now you're facing the fallout of your choices." "I can't help you, Harry," she started, but he cut her off. "I need to move on, Lisa. We're done." He hung up, the finality of it striking him like a punch to the gut. As he sat in silence, Harry felt a strange mix of grief and liberation. He was done with the anger and the heartache. Lisa's choices had irrevocably altered their lives, but he would not be a prisoner to her mistakes. With a deep breath, he began to contemplate his future: how to rebuild, how to heal. It wouldn't be easy, but he was ready to take the first step into a new beginning. The courtroom was a stark contrast to the vibrant life Harry once knew. Cold, sterile, and unforgiving, it mirrored the emotional turbulence that had engulfed him since the day he discovered Lisa's betrayal. The walls echoed with the somber discussions of other cases, but for Harry, it was the final battleground in his battle against the woman who had once promised to love him unconditionally. As he took his seat in the gallery, he felt a wave of anxiety wash over him, but he steadied himself. Today wasn't just about the end of their marriage. It was about reclaiming his life, about holding Lisa accountable for the lies and deceit that had shattered their world. He glanced toward the front, where Lisa sat, her expression a mix of defiance and despair. She was dressed sharply, trying to maintain an air of professionalism, but the tightness around her eyes betrayed her vulnerability. The judge entered, and the proceedings began. Harry felt the weight of anticipation pressing down on him as his attorney, Sarah, prepared to present their case. She turned to him briefly, offering a reassuring nod. "Remember, we're here to seek justice, not revenge," she whispered. "I know," Harry replied, swallowing hard. "But I just want the truth out there." As the hearing progressed, Sarah laid out the details of their financial disputes, the evidence of Lisa's misuse of company funds, and the emotional turmoil Harry had endured since the affair was revealed. He could see Lisa fidgeting in her seat, glancing at her own attorney, who wore a stoic expression. When it was Lisa's turn to testify, Harry's heart raced. He had prepared himself for this moment, but felt an overwhelming mix of emotions as she approached the witness stand. "Lisa, can you describe the events leading up to your termination?" Sarah asked, her tone professional yet probing. Lisa hesitated, visibly shaken. "I made some mistakes. I didn't handle things the way I should have. I was overwhelmed." Her voice quivered, and she glanced at Harry, desperation clouding her features. "Overwhelmed? By what exactly?" Sarah pressed. "By the affair you chose to have behind your husband's back? By the financial misconduct you engaged in while representing your company?" Lisa's composure faltered. "It was a mistake. I never intended for things to get this far." She turned toward Harry, her eyes pleading. "You know I didn't mean for it to end like this. I was confused." "Confused?" Harry echoed, the hurt bubbling to the surface. "You think I care about your confusion? You had a choice, Lisa. You chose to betray me." "Harry, please!" she shouted, her voice breaking. "This isn't just about you. I lost everything, my job, my friends, my reputation. You did this to yourself. He countered, his voice firm. You wanted to have your cake and eat it too. You put your desires above everything, and now you want to play the victim? The courtroom buzzed with murmurs at the intensity of his words. Lisa took a deep breath, attempting to regain her composure. I'm not asking for pity, she said, though her voice wavered. I just wanted a chance to explain. I was trying to find happiness in a life that felt stagnant. I thought I could make it work, but you didn't, did you? Harry shot back, anger flaring. You thought you could cheat your way to happiness, and now you're paying the price. That's not my fault. Enough! The judge interjected, rapping the gavel sharply. Let's keep this professional, please. As Lisa stepped down, Harry felt a mix of triumph and sorrow. He had spoken his truth, yet it didn't feel like a victory. It felt like the slow, painful end of a chapter he had hoped would never come to pass. The proceedings continued, and as the day wore on, the judge ultimately ruled in Harry's favor, ordering Lisa to pay restitution for the funds she had misappropriated and granting him full custody of their dog, Baxter. Harry felt a sense of relief wash over him as the decision sank in, yet the victory felt hollow. Later that day, as he stood outside the courthouse, the weight of the morning's events began to settle in. He had achieved what he set out to do, but the emotional toll was heavy. Harry! He heard a soft voice call from behind. He turned to see Lisa approaching, her face pale, exhaustion etched into her features. I didn't think you'd want to talk after all this, he said, his tone guarded. I know you're angry, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. But I need you to understand, I never wanted it to end like this. Yet here we are, Harry replied, his heart aching at the sight of her. You had every opportunity to make different choices, Lisa. You didn't just hurt me, you hurt yourself in the process. Tears glistened in her eyes. I'm so sorry for everything, Harry. I never meant to destroy our life together, but you did, he replied, shaking his head. This isn't just about saying sorry anymore. It's too late for that. Please, can we at least try to talk this through? I don't want to lose you completely, Lisa pleaded, desperation creeping into her voice. Harry sighed, feeling the weight of her words. I don't think there's anything left to salvage. Trust is gone, and so is love. You need to understand that. Is that it then? Just over? She asked, her voice cracking. Yeah, he said, the finality of it hitting him like a tidal wave. I need to move on, Lisa. I need to heal. I can't keep dragging this pain with me. As he turned to leave, Harry felt a strange mix of relief and sorrow. It was a decision he had wrestled with for weeks, but standing in that moment, he knew he had made the right choice. Harry, Lisa called after him, her voice trembling with emotion. I hope one day you can forgive me. He paused for a moment, looking back at her. Maybe. But right now, I need to focus on myself. I hope you can find a way to forgive yourself, too. With that, he walked away, feeling the weight of their past slowly lifting from his shoulders. The road ahead was uncertain, but he was ready to face it head on. This was the end of one chapter, but it was also the beginning of something new, a chance to rebuild his life, to rediscover who he was beyond the hurt. As he stepped into the bustling street, a renewed sense of purpose filled him. He would find happiness again, even if it felt distant now. The scars of betrayal would always remain, but they wouldn't define him. Today marked a new dawn, and Harry was determined to embrace it.